So you should have copied over the student example structures project from the Chapter 9 folder on the S drive. We've taken a look at what happens when you run it initially. You can enter a grade, enter a name, an ID. You can pick some classes. Of course, there's only one important class for next year. And then some other, who cares what else, right? All right, so we're going to start off with how do I actually define this idea of a thing called student? I want to be able to make students, so how do I define that? So to define that, you need to go outside of any of your events and procedures. So up here in the global space. And we're going to declare something called a structure. And when you make it a structure, you start with the word structure. And then you type in the name of the the data type that you want to call it. So in this case, we're going to be making students. If you hit enter, it automatically puts in the in structure. So, and then everything inside of here is going to be properties of a student. Right? So what are some examples that we're going to be using here? A name, right? So we're going to go dim. We're going to have both first name and last name because we want to keep those separate. So this part is like what we're used to. We're declaring different variables. So we'll dim a last name. We need an ID. What else do we need? Sorry? A grade. We do need a grade. So now, before we do that, that one's going to be a little bit different, the grade. Anything else that we can put in right now? What's on this form that we're going to be keeping track of? Chase? Classes, right. So now, what is classes going to need to be? It's going to be a list. Yeah, it's going to be an array because we're going to have more than one. So we'll have an array of strings called classes. And what you'll note here, so there's going to be basically three new things today. This idea of a structure is the main idea today, making a new data type. This right here, making an array without giving it a size, that is also going to be a new thing today. And then lastly, Lynn mentioned we need a grade, and that's going to be our third new thing. For the grade, you've only got 4 choices. Okay? And for things like grade and day and month, things that have a limited amount of choices, sometimes you want to list those choices so that's the only possible things that a person can assign to that value. So for instance, if I just did dim grade as integer, then potentially they could assign it, 57 or 89 or whatever, right? They could just put in any number they wanted for a grade, and I don't want that. So instead of dimming grade as an integer, I'm actually going to define another new data type called grade. So now it's going to be a little confused here because it doesn't know what this is yet. So I'm going to go down here below my structure, and I'm going to define what it means to be a grade. This is called an enumerated type. So this is our third new thing today, aside from the other 2 things. When you make an enumerated type, do you know what it means to enumerate something? Yeah, we're basically making a list and assigning numbers to some values. Okay. So to start it off, you type in the word enum. It's short for enumeration or enumerated. And then you type in the thing that you're going to be enumerating or numbering. So in this case, grade. And as soon as you do that, notice what happens. It's no longer angry at us about this. It's like, oh, okay, you're going to define what grade means. I feel much better. Okay? So now, inside of here, all we're going to do is just list out the options that we want to have available. Okay, this is not declaring variables or anything like that. It's literally just listing the options that are available for grade. So we're going to go fresh person. And those are our options. Guess what value freshman is going to have numerically? 0. You got it. Okay, are we missing anything? We got a grade, we got an ID, first and last name, we got classes. All right, I think we're ready to go. All right, so let's go over to our button 1 here. Does yours say button 1? What does yours say? All right, example student. Let's go over to this button, and we're actually gonna make a student here. How do you suppose we're gonna make a variable of type student? What do we always start with when we make a variable? Dim, yeah. Okay. You can call it the variable whatever you want, as usual. But what is the type going to be? It's going to be an actual student, yeah. It's not going to be a number or a string or anything like that. It's going to be an actual student. And if you start typing that in, it's in there. Like it knows what we're talking about now because we defined what student was up above. All right. So this student needs properties. So go ahead and define the properties. Stu, how do you suppose we're going to set Stu's first name and last name? We're going to use dot notation. And look at this, dot, and there it all is. It's ready to go. So first name has to be a string value, so it's not like you can go Terry like this. That's not going to work. You'd have to use quotes just like any other string value. And then we're going to set our student's last name. And what else do we have to set? We have an ID. That one's easy. And then the grade is kind of interesting. So start typing in the grade, autocomplete that, hit an equals sign, and watch what happens. Whoops. Check it out. Right? We've got options. It's like, here's your options. These are the grades that you can do. That's it. So you pick a grade for this student. Now, if you didn't, the only other thing that we can do besides one of these is we can type in a number. What grade do you think I've assigned to Stu here? A senior. Very good. Very good. Okay, that's the same thing as actually choosing senior. Notice the little pop-up here, senior equals 3. It's right there. Okay, so what haven't we assigned yet? Sorry? We haven't assigned classes yet. The problem with classes is that we didn't declare a size for classes, right? Because we don't know how many classes a student is going to choose to begin with. So this is our last new thing for today. What do you do with an array that hasn't been given a size yet? So it turns out there is something we can do here. We can resize an array on the fly if we need to. And you do it by using the word redim. If If you look at the description there, it reallocates storage space for an array variable, which is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to reallocate, as in do it again. So redim, and then we got to mention the thing that we're going to redim. So let's see. What are we redimming? Whose classes? Yeah, Stu's classes, right? If I just start typing in classes, it has no idea what I'm talking about, because every first name and last name and grade and whatever has to belong to someone. You can't just start typing in grade or classes or whatever. They have to belong to an actual student. So I have to use stu.classes. So here is where I'm going to put my size. So if he's going to sign up for, let's say he's going to sign up for 4 classes. So I'm going to put a 3 here. And that's going to reallocate space for 4 classes to be put in. So then how are we going to assign classes? It's the same way you assign values to any array, right? You can do it one at a time using positions 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can go stu classes 0, and stu classes 1, and so on. Very popular class. All right, so Stu has a nice array of classes there. And now we've set up the entire student. So we're going to make a print procedure that goes with this list box so that every time we make a student, we can print out the list of students to our list box. So all it's going to be doing is printing, so we don't need to return anything. It'll just be a function. So we'll go sub print roster. Now, in order to print a roster, what is this procedure? What information is going to need to be given to this procedure? We're going to need a list of students. So the first thing we probably want to do is clear out the list box. The second thing we'll want to do is copy that line from above that has the headers for each column and paste it right here. And then I'm ready to do what I need to do now. I want to print out every single student that's in the roster list to this list box, first name, last name, number of classes. All right, so our for loop is going to go through the whole roster. We're going to be adding to our roster list box. First thing I want to add is a student's first name. But what student? How do I grab a student? Where's the student being stored? The student is being stored in a list called roster. To access something from the roster list, I would need to use parentheses because it's an array. I want to access student I, the ith student in the list. This gets me the whole student, everything about that student, but I can't print the whole student. That, like, Visual Basic doesn't know what that means, to print the whole student. But it